So I'm going to give you a chance to re-answer the question about 2023 because we lost you about halfway in.
Okay, so what I was saying is that I think that 2023 would be the year of the victory of Ukraine. And I think that 2023 would be the year when the new Russia was born.
Very nice. I think I can speak for everybody here that we're looking forward to that as much as you are.
We actually yesterday finished the first draft of the new Russian constitution, and it would be discussed on the dedicated commission of the Congress of People's Deputies in January. And so at the end of February, we will discuss this already on the Congress, and then we'll publish it.
Is there a planned next physical meeting or is this all being done virtually?
No, I think that both the working groups and the Congress itself obviously would be offline. The Congress is planned for the last week of February, when it would be 1 year anniversary of the invasion in Ukraine. And most likely it would happen in Poland as well.
Okay. And are these documents, for instance, this draft constitution, is it one of the documents that's available now on the website for the Congress?
Not yet, because on the website it's the concept that was adopted by the first Congress, but now we're talking about the actual document.
Yes.
The actual draft, but it would be published as a draft as soon as it would pass the working group. Before that, it's all amendments which are being collected together, and then they would be systemized, and then it would be public for discussion.
So in our previous conversations and in our working together on the book, obviously was a lot of discussion about a new constitution for Russia. Are you finding that this document is developing faster than you expected, or is this about the kind of timeline that you thought would be required?
No, that's about the timeline. Yes, I think that we are very much on schedule. Anyway, the constitution needs to be discussed by the society in general, and it would be a certain crowdsourcing exercise. And I think it will be discussed throughout the year after the regime change, and until it would be actually voted, put for votes on the national referendum. So it needs to be a discussion period. We don't want to rush. We want it to be democratic. We want that people would actually feel what's written there, understand, and make a conscious choice. But to put something for discussion, that's the job that Congress needs to do now, because it has to be a sort of starting point for this
Yeah.
discussion.
I guess I'm going to ask a question. Do you see that there's a way for Russian citizens to have input on this constitution or this draft of constitution, even while Putin remains in power?
Hmm. Theoretically, yes, but practically it doesn't make much sense, uh, because anyway, it would be a general discussion after the regime change. So to create sophisticated, secure methods with authentication, whatever, without having a government behind you, it's expensive, and it doesn't make much sense. Right now, it's better to draft it and think it over thoroughly. And I see that Emma is asking about the key changes. And indeed, we have taken the current Russian constitution, which is in force right now, and uh, changed it a lot. The main changes, obviously, they are within the political system, and the new proposals, they very much resemble the political system of the United States, to my mind. At least we learned a lot from the example about the balance of powers, etc., etc. Then obviously there were a lot of changes in the structure of the federation, uh, and municipal authorities. Everything has been shifted to the bottom. So the center, it's not now how it was previously when the center delegates certain powers to the regions, but it's the other way around when the regions delegate certain powers to the center. Again, very much like it's done in the United States. And finally, a lot of changes in the judicial system. Right now in Russia, it's very weak and very fragmented and very dependent on the executive. It's all changed. We introduced again the Supreme Court, which is very much the same as it is in the United States with chief justices. And a lot of changes how the particular courts, federal courts and local courts are being structured. We're now introducing the elections of the judges, but also a lot of changes again in the prerogatives and the jurisdictions of the courts and how they've been formed and how they are independent, etc., etc. So a lot of pretty serious changes, like visually it looks similarly to what it was before, but the changes are really profound.
So I've been getting a lot of questions from people as I've been discussing the work you and the Congress are doing. And I want to ask you two of the questions because I'm very interested in hearing how you respond. One is the term regime change is always part of this conversation, but could it actually be considered a political change versus a regime change? I mean, when the US, as an example, went from Barack Obama to Donald Trump, from Donald Trump to Joe Biden, dramatic changes happened, not a constitutional change, but it was a political change. Is it necessary? Is the term regime change the most accurate, or is it overstating what could potentially happen here?
It's understating. It's not overstating. Uh, um, mm, what we envision is that Russia Federation would no longer exist.
Okay.
It, it would be a new country, Russian Republic. And there would be a new structure of power. It's a new administrative division, new regions, like new everything. Some of the regions, I think, would eventually leave. And so it would no longer be the empire. It would be a genuinely free union. And again, to bring the analogy, which should ring the bell for American people and American lawmakers, it's the same change that happened between the Articles of Association and passing of the new constitution. So it's like it's the same territory in general, but it's a profound change on how it's being governed.
Yeah. And just to clarify, you're talking about the Articles of Confederation, which was the structure of the first government in the US. And then there was I don't remember the exact year, 17, whatever it was.
Yeah, they lasted for like 12 years or something.
That's right. That's right. And then there was an adoption of the Constitution. I think that's a really great analogy. The difference here, of course, is that change in the government was a peaceful change. It was a collaborative change. And I think we're all agreeing that that's unlikely to happen in Russia.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that the degree of violence should be not um, um, that far-fetched, as many people would suggest. I think, yeah, it would be a change with the using of the military force, but I do not expect some like serious bloodshed.
Hmm. So Emma asks a question: how do you think? Where will it happen? Uh, and I have a similar question, so I'm going to lump them together here. And that is, I'm curious about how you as a group look at the timing of this. What happens if Putin's gone tomorrow versus a month from now or 6 months from now?
I think that the very next day will be in Moscow. Uh, Everything is ready for that. I don't think that he would be gone tomorrow, but I think that would happen at some point in 2023.
Mhm.
And obviously, we are preparing for this. Like, seriously speaking, I don't think it's theoretically possible before some point in March, April.
Mhm.
But any given moment after that, it's a possibility. Obviously, all the major events would happen in Moscow, in the capital, where the power structures are, where is the heart of the system. But in general, our intention is to move the capital elsewhere.
Mm.
And my ideal place in Russia is Khanty-Mansiysk in Western Siberia. I want to find a place where no government bureaucrat would go voluntarily. That's my idea. Yeah. And I think that was very much similar intention when George Washington was looking for a place for District Columbia, and he found a perfect swamp on
Yes.
the border between northern and the southern states. And I really want the same.
So I guess the next question is Putin, something happens to Putin. Let's say it happened. You're speculating it doesn't happen between now and March, but let's say it does. You and your delegates are ready to go to Moscow and take control. But what about others who have the same designs or the same plans? How is that? There's got to be some kind of either collaboration or power struggle to see who ends up actually running the government. How does that work?
Um, can you provide me with a list of others?
Well, I'm thinking about people who are Putin. I think I need to give you a list. I think you know who the list is. Pronunciation of Russian names is poor.
We will have to deal with it. No, I seriously speaking, I think there are a lot of people who are talking about this, but
Mhm,
nobody who is actually preparing for this.
mhm,
Yeah, I think that the actual competition may come from two different sides. Like, so, besides us, two different other actors can pretend to be part of the change. Uh, uh, the part which looks usually more dangerous, but to me is actually less dangerous and less probable. Mm, these are people like Prigozhin.
right.
If we have independent military force inside the country and who may pretend to grab the power as well. Why I think that it's least likely? Because for any revolution to be successful, you need to have at least significant part of the elites, if not the majority of the elites, who would support the change. Otherwise, it's doomed to fail.
Mm,
And I don't think that just anyone would support people like Prigozhin, because it's uh, obviously against every interest of Russian upper society. That means very dangerous developments. It means more conflict with the West. It's, it means more personal problems for them. It means lesser personal security for them. So a lot of reasons why they wouldn't support this. We have something to offer them. It's the pacification with the West, but Prigozhin does not.
yes.
The other option, which to my mind is probably the most dangerous, is Russian, so-called Russian system liberals. So these are people who identify themselves as liberals, but who are in Putin's power circles. Um, uh, and that's the real problem, because the West would be very much tempted to make its bet on those guys, because
Yes.
they kind of already have power. They are known, they are understandable. There is no fundamental change. It's more predictable, etc., etc., etc. But again, to bring the historical analogy, that means like uh, uh, we are changing Hitler to maybe not Himmler, but I don't know, Bormann or Speer, so somebody within the Reich leadership. So the Reich would be preserved in this situation, and it doesn't mean that the Holocaust would stop.
Yes. Yes.
So that's why, yeah, it could look very tempting and very convenient and very safe, but it does not solve the problem fundamentally.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, that's why this is the scenario that we need to fight the most, and that's why again we created this Congress, who is the political face of this new Russian opposition, and who can be understandable, transparent, and nice with all the international stakeholders in the process.
It's also incredibly useful that you have a media channel broadcasting into Russia called February Morning, so that you are actually able to inform the Russian people, for those that are willing to make the effort, to know about the Congress itself.
Yep. No, absolutely. I would be probably cynical here. That I think that leads at this very moment are more important than the ordinary people.
Mhm.
Because the way Putin has made everything, they would have very little voice in general in the process of the change. But obviously, they need to support this after the change,
Yes.
and they need to understand where to look for the position of the new authorities, and in the process of the change, having an independent media tool is also extremely important.
Well, transparency and a track record of communications will also, at some point, it's an investment for the future, right? Because you can point to it and say, we've been transparent about what we're doing and our goals and our philosophies and our plans since the beginning. We didn't just start, we didn't start making this stuff up yesterday. Uh, I think it's an incredible investment in the future, whether it pays off today or until then anyway.
Something I totally agree, and I think that's extremely important. And so without this, the change just technically would not be possible.
So the last thing I want to ask you, Ilya, is something you posted on Twitter and I think Facebook also, about some changes, some legal changes involving you inside of Russia from Moscow, if I understand correctly.
No, that's not a legal change. I already told in our previous shows that during this year another 4 criminal cases were opened against me for spreading fakes about Russian military, for terrorism, something else. And um, they already made several raids with detentions of certain people in Russia. So today the third wave happened, but they still are chasing people who have no relation to me at all, like whatsoever.
Hmm.
So they're just picking up some random people. Some of them are in general known, some are unknown. Some of them are journalists, some of them are political activists. And they publicly claim that they are detained based on the criminal cases that they are investigating against someone, Mr. Ponomarev. But looking at the names, I'm saying like, okay, so I heard, I heard some of those names before, but none of those people have any relations with me. I
Yes.
have certain network in Russia, as you all very well know, but they never arrested anyone from that network. They're just picking up some random people. Uh, and the only rationale which I understand is that they are trying to actually inspire this political competition that you were talking about, among Russian liberals, among our old opposition, to start criticizing me that uh, I am creating conditions that innocent people are getting arrested.
Yes.
I don't think that the regime needs any pretexts to arrest anyone. And,
Yes.
if they're arresting people whom I have no relations to, so what, should I just do nothing? But they can arrest them anyway, so they don't need an excuse for this. So obviously it's a very lame suggestion, but I just don't see any other reasons why they are doing what they are doing. Anyway, we publicly announced that we would help for everyone who would need any help in terms of like legal defense and stuff like that. You guys participating in the show, you're regularly donating to this Bravery Foundation that is being used as the wallets to finance the legal defense of people who are fighting against the regime, including these people. But still, understand, who these guys are. It's puzzling.
My interpretation of this when I read about it on Twitter from you, from your posts, and I think I also read about it on the Telegram channel, is I looked at this and said, this is validation of the success of the Congress, and that in Moscow they need to start chipping away at legitimacy now because they're afraid of what this Congress will become if they don't do things that are threatening and as you said, even turning people against you. Do you think that the successful movement of the Congress is part of what's motivating this now?
That's definitely yes. I don't think that's with any such arrest or something. People can carve out any of the Congress legitimacy. That's only increasing Congress's
Yes.
legitimacy because it's a validation of its success. But um, uh, at the same time, obviously, they want firstly to scare people who may collaborate with us.
Yes.
That it's dangerous. Obviously, that's always on their top priority. But also, secondly, I think that they just need to report to their superiors and to Mr. Putin person that security forces have done everything. That they carried out a duty. They protect the state. And Putin would not know, whether they arrested proper people or not proper. They
Yes.
they just report the numbers. Arrests were made, Mr. Boss.
Yes. This is the bubble that dictators often find themselves in, where people are just doing things because they're afraid. All right, so I'm going to ask. This is my last follow-up question on this. My name is below your name on this book. Should I be worried that some Russian agents are going to show up at my house?
I don't think so. I think that's this is the mafia people, and you are under protection of different mafia, which sits in DC.
Yes.
So, they wouldn't interfere. They think that they can attack anyone with the Russian passport, or at least had the Russian passport in the past, because it's like their domain. It's like their voice. But,
Yes.
an attack on a foreign citizen always would trigger a lot of backlash, and I don't think that that would happen.
Well, I was being a bit facetious about that. Before I let you go for the day, is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to tell us about?
I probably don't want to add something. I just want to congratulate everyone with the upcoming new year. and wish everyone a peaceful new year, and a great successful in new year. And since you all guys are so loyally watching our shows, that means that you already understand that we share the common success, and our success would be your success, and your success would be our success. So happy new year.
Thank you, William. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you, to all your team members and members of the Congress. I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy. I'm going to keep talking for a few minutes and include, among other things, a link to our page for the Bravery Foundation. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.